and welcome to Raise a Glass, the podcast where we talk about the stories and storytellers that shape us. My name is Eric Lintola.
And I am Hunter Danson.
Today, we're coming at you with a special episode and it's special in a couple ways. The first is that it is an episode that is outside of our normal kind of time when we record them. It's going to be a little bit shorter.
Surprise.
Yeah. Yay. The second reason it's special is we're talking about an artist who is near and dear to my heart and that of my wife, more so than me, but in Taylor Swift and her new album that just dropped. And the third of reason why it's a special episode is, Hunter, it's our 10th episode.
Oh, wow.
Do you realize that? We've been doing this. This is our 10th episode.
Yeah.
So
10 weeks.
All of those hours of us having random conversations over the last 10 years about random things have finally paid off, and that we've now created 10 episodes worth of content.
Yeah. Not monetarily paid off.
No, yeah, that's true. Content-wise, yes. Oh, yeah, no, content breeds creativity. I don't know if I agree with that statement. But Hunter, I know you had something you wanted to talk about from our last episode, just a little update.
Yeah. I had a couple things. One was in She-Hulk, it's not Cardi B who makes a cameo. It is Megan Thee Stallion. So I just wanted to correct that. And the other one is I wanted to share the quote from Tolkien. He quotes this Old English poem by Sir Thomas the Rhymer. And he says, Tolkien says, "The road to fairyland is not the road to heaven, nor even to hell, I believe, though some have held that it may lead thither indirectly by the devil's tithe." And then he quotes this Old English poem. "O see ye not yon narrow road, so thick beset with thorns and briars? That is the path of righteousness, though after it but few inquires. And see ye not yon braid road that lies across the lily leven? This is the path of wickedness, though some call it the road to heaven. And see ye not yon bonny road that winds about yon ferny brae? That is the road to fair Elfland, where thou and I this night mun gie." I believe I totally butchered the pronunciation, but you can look it up.
Anything to share about that?
Well, I don't know. I was mentioning it in the context of the kind of the spirit of Tolkien's writing and searching for adventure, and I realized that it might not be exactly what he meant. I think it's still not clear exactly what he meant, because he just kind of quotes it and he doesn't give too much beyond that. He expands on it later in the essay, and there is a great enactment of this essay that's kind of shortened, that you can look up on YouTube by Kevin O'Brien, and I highly recommend listening to it because it gives kind of a fuller picture of Tolkien's vision of writing fantasy as not just a diversion, but as something that realizes the potential of our imagination as something that points to something beyond this world, something greater.
Great. I wish I had a beautiful transition from there to our topic today. Even though I think that Taylor Swift has definitely been a voice and a storyteller who has impacted our generation and clearly the entire world. As far as just the impact of her music and her albums, she's won, it seems like, almost any award that's out there. And she's gone through a lot of different genres of music as she's progressed as an artist, which is actually one of the reasons I was interested in this episode. But just a little of an update for those of you who haven't listened to Midnights yet, or maybe don't plan on listening to Midnights. Just here's a little bit from Taylor Swift about what this album is about. Midnights are the stories of 13 sleepless nights scattered throughout my life. She says that it's for all of us who have tossed and turned and decided to keep the lanterns lit and go searching, hoping that just maybe, when the clock strikes 12, we'll meet ourselves. She later revealed that the songs at Midnights were inspired by 5 different things, including self-loathing, fantasizing about revenge, wondering what might have been, falling in love, and falling apart. So it turns out Taylor Swift's favorite number is 13. And so the idea, there's 13 songs on the regular album to represent those 13 nights. And she also has a deluxe album, which has a few extra tracks, which I've listened to. I don't know if you had the chance yet, Hunter.
Listened to a couple of them.
Yeah. And so that one's called the 3 a.m. edition. And that has a few extra songs that she wrote on the journey of finding that magic 13, she said. And she's calling those the 3 a.m. tracks. So it was released today at 12 a.m., which is kind of a poetic decision for an album called Midnights. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about this album. But even more so, before we get to that, though, let's talk about what's in our glasses. Of course, that's a regular tradition here at Raise a Glass. Hunter, what is in your glass today?
I have some freshly ground, freshly brewed black coffee.
I actually also have coffee with some creamer from my favorite cafe and roastery down the street from where I am, just a few minute walk, called New City Cafe. Best coffee here in Rochester, brewed locally in the city of Rochester. Not only do I love the taste of their coffee and the atmosphere of the shop, but I love their mission and how they approach it as an organization. So check it out. So Hunter, we are about the stories and storytellers that shape us. Taylor Swift has shaped me, but I don't know if she's shaped you at all. And it's okay if she hasn't.
I have resisted being shaped by Taylor Swift. When I was in high school, I was a lot more dogmatic about music. And there were 2 friends in my youth group who used to tease me about Taylor Swift and how much it annoyed me. And I think that was, so, I mean, looking back on it now, I like her early stuff, like, what is You Belong With Me, I think.
Okay.
She wears short shorts, he wears these team cap. Yeah. I think that's fine. I didn't really like her newer stuff, like Look What You Made Me Do and that kind of stuff. I thought it was, I don't know, kind of a similar pet peeve I have about Adele is that all the music seems to be about breakups, which a good breakup song is fine, but I just want something more.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't dislike Taylor Swift, I guess. It's just I have a weird self-consciousness about it where I feel like me just not really liking Taylor Swift that much because she is so liked by everyone else makes it seem like that I hate Taylor Swift, which I don't. But it's just I don't know. Maybe that's just my own personal internalization, curmudgeonliness.
Hunter, I love how your curmudgeonliness helps you fight the mainstream. I think that's a piece of it. And actually, later in this episode, and I bring it up now so don't forget, I want to hear you talk a little bit about a concept album that you're creating. I know that this is a concept album that Taylor Swift created. But we're not there yet. We'll get to that a little bit later. I know you sometimes need a little bit more time to. I'm a very much an off the cuff person, and you tend to think more about what you say before you say it, which is part of the reason why you sound so much deeper than me, regardless of what you actually are. We'll let our viewers decide on that. Or listeners. I guess nobody's viewing us, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you a little bit about my experience with Taylor Swift, because I didn't really get into Taylor Swift until Speak Now. which came out in 2010, which
Mm.
I was in 10th grade or about there. I knew about Taylor Swift, but for me, that summer, the summer after that album came out, I don't know if that was 2010 or 2011. My family, which one of our family mottos is find the hardest way to do something and do it that way first. Because my dad's kind of view is, well, I always end up doing the hardest way anyway, so might as well just start there.
Right.
So in that vein, we decided to paint the outside of our house, not to hire somebody to do it, and not even to use some of those spray paint things. We hand painted with brush and rollers the entire outside of our house. We did 2 coats of everything.
Yeah. Did you scrape and sand?
Some, but thankfully it wasn't too bad. They just wanted to turn it from brown to green. In that summer, I listened to this album, Speak Now, dozens of times, and came to really, really like the album. There's a lot of, I think, really, there are a couple songs I don't love on it, but it's just such a fun album. It was kind of like as she was transitioning from country to pop. It's definitely a pop album. But it's just
was that like Bad Blood? Which one is that?
Reputation. You're probably thinking of Reputation or 1989.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Taylor Swift starts country. She moved toward pop. Then she moved towards kind of like a darker pop almost. And then the last 2 albums before this, Folklore and Evermore, were folk music, which is, I was kind of thinking that this album might continue in that vein, but it has definitely turned back to pop. So much of my love for Taylor Swift comes from Speak Now, and I can sing many songs from the different albums, but I can sing every single song from Speak Now. Let me just touch base on one or 2 of the songs that have really kind of impacted me. I'm just trying to pull up the song list, which you'd think would be easier to do with technology today than.
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again?
Of course. Speak songs is what I typed in. That's why probably. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. There are a couple of songs. The first and probably the one that's impacted myself the most is the song Enchanted. It was enchanting to meet you. Please don't fall in love with someone else. Please don't. There's actually a version of it that Owl City wrote back, which is hilarious. I remember being all into that when that came out. It's a song my wife and I have talked about a lot. And at different times, we talked about the way that's kind of been part of our relationship. Every relationship needs a couple songs that kind of drive it. And so that's one that we've kind of connected with. Because the first time we ever met, we were in a crowded bar. So, which kind of speaks into the vibe. At least that's what I say. My wife says the first time we met, we were at a church with our church small group. Both of us are true. So that's one. And then the other one is, there are a lot of songs I love in this. There are a lot of very funny songs. But the other one that has connected with me for a while is the song Long Live. Long live the night. I don't remember the words. I could sing them with her, but the reason why that one's connected with me is I have long believed that song, Long Live, should have been the soundtrack to the final one of the Hunger Games series. Because I could see Katniss Everdeen singing that to Peeta at the end. I feel like it should have been the track at the very end. I think that it really overlays pretty accurately with what's happening in those movies, really in those books. Maybe we can talk about Hunger Games in our in a future adaptation conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are a couple of the things. And so entering into this album, I've listened to a lot of Taylor Swift. My wife's been to at least one Taylor Swift concert. We were watching the NFL Thursday night football game last night, and my wife came back downstairs to watch a little sneak peek of the album coming out. Taylor Swift is a kind of a storyteller that's impacted us. Even though I'm not as much into pop as I am into some of the other genres that she's done. So
the album release crashed Spotify.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I didn't stay up to a minute. I fell asleep. So,
me too.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to stay up even to watch the football game, and I just was gone. What did you think of this album? Maybe that's kind of I don't know. Does anything stick out to you? Did you get a chance? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, I did kind of a cursory listen on phone speakers because that's all I could do today.
Yep.
But that was an interesting sound. It's not. I don't think it's like a groundbreaking sound. Maybe it is for Taylor Swift, but reminded me kind of Glass Animals. I don't know if you ever listened to them, but I love their album Zaba. I just go through phases where I listen to Zaba over and over. And it had that kind of feel to it, some like interesting synth sounds and stuff. I thought there were some good lines. I don't think there was a song that wasn't about a breakup or a relationship. Maybe Anti-Hero.
I think that's the best song on this album.
Yeah, at least the music video. Music video is pretty
Did you
good.
see that? Yeah. I was going to ask you about it.
That was fun.
That was, yeah. It was, I thought it was really cool. And she's going to be releasing a lot of albums. I think maybe even one for every song. Like part of this is going to be a visual album as part of her hope for it. I know the next one's dropping in 4 days. But that music video is so funny. Because like it starts with this like this weird I don't know. There's so many things that are happening. Right? She's like a huge giant in a small room, and then all of a sudden there's like the funeral scene where it kind of breaks into like a conversation. I burst out laughing during that bit.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And I appreciate, and I think she's done this before with her music videos, where she takes a break from the song and like has a dialogue piece of it because it's part of a larger story. And she's actually did that with one of her most recent albums. There was a 10-minute video that was a full-on story, which was a little bit much for me. Again, it was, but that's just me personally. I watched most of it. But this one I just thought was really funny and kind of for me captured more of the idea of like, that's what you mean anti-hero is a pretty regularly used term, but
yeah, no, it was interesting. I don't know. Maybe this is something. This is going to sound curmudgeonly. I just, it's like I like Taylor Swift, but I guess I just don't understand. I'm not convinced that like the amount of attention and like scrutiny that she gets is equal to the quality of the music and the songwriting. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of the nature of like the music industry and being a pop star and being popular.
I think
I guess, Anti-Hero is kind of about that, I think.
I think one of the things that is important to keep in mind when you talk about Taylor Swift is also the way that she has helped the music industry, like break down like some of its longstanding barriers and like longstanding problems. Like she's currently, she's still in the process of re-recording all of her albums to have a Taylor version of them where she actually owns the rights to the songs that she's written. Because I can't remember the name of the guy. There's this whole thing about it, like who's making tons of money off of her albums, and is still making tons of money. And it's this challenge of like, the creator of the music should have more power over that. And yet the way that so much of the
Right.
music industry is created, it's the producers have this way they can get you on the radio. Thus they should have the rights to the music, all these pieces. And she's re-recording her own music and like releasing new albums that people are buying in mass because they want to, not only do they want to support Taylor Swift, but like it's also a way in which Taylor Swift is helping. I think she's using her platform to help the music industry and to help artists, I think. And she like used her platform as well in a court case as well, which was I think pretty widely known in the way that man, I'm going to start talking about this and not be able to follow it up with actual information. Hold on a second. I don't want to say something that's just so blatantly not true. Yeah, there was a Taylor Swift won a court case where she sued a former DJ for sexual assault. And she sued him for $1.
$1.
And because she didn't need the money, but she sued him because sexual assault is not okay on any level, no matter who you are.
Right.
And so, like, to me, that's a way of. In December 2007, Swift was named as a silence breaker in Time Magazine's Person of the Year issue. And she won the court case. And so it just, I think she's done so much more for music, for artists, and for women, and for maybe our country's approach to, you know, I think she's really impacted a large aspect of the public in ways that I would say are very, very positive. In addition to so much of her music is I think she writes almost all of her music by herself. She started co-writing some pieces. Like that was one of the things that I enjoyed about her music early on, is that it wasn't like it started off as just her. And so, yeah, I think this album for me wasn't like, oh my goodness, so interesting. Even though, like, especially in the same way that Folklore, I listened to that and I was like, oh, I can get back into Taylor Swift, because I don't listen to pop music like at all, unless it's like punk or like early 2000s like nostalgic pieces for me. Obviously, we did an episode on Linkin Park, which is more rock,
right?
Screamo, hip hop, whatever.
How can you put a label on a lifestyle?
But I am looking forward to the new music videos that come out, because I think that this one was really fun and kind of brought the music to life in a different way.
Any other standout songs for you?
I listened to, so I like you, I only got to listen to it once. I started a second listen. I enjoyed the 3 a.m. edition, the song "The Great War." I can't tell you what specifically about it that like really kind of like connected with me, but like I thought that was really kind of a fun song, not like fun like yay type song, but like it. I liked it. And Dear Reader, I don't know. I think as I spend more time watching and listen to some of these songs, and I probably will, I'll have more thoughts on it. Like part of the reason I wanted this conversation was to talk about like kind of what I was able to share about Taylor Swift. Because I think that Taylor Swift, maybe more so than anybody in our generation, Hunter, like has impacted the course of music, and the, like, as an artist, like impacted our culture, regardless of whether she deserves it or not. I do think she's also used her spotlight. I do not think she's used her spotlight selfishly, which impresses me. I feel like that I see a lot of examples of men, boys and girls as they grow into men and women, making it about them and kind of. And yeah. I don't see how anybody could live with the spotlight on them. It sounds like the most terrible thing ever. Like I would never want to be that famous.
Sure. At the same time, though, like I was thinking about it when I was listening to Andy here and watching the music videos. And again, I don't want this to come off the wrong way. Like, I wish Taylor Swift all the best. But I think it's also kind of a trope. Like the persecuted artist is kind of a trope.
Can you clarify what you're talking about that in relation to? Because we've talked about some things on this episode.
So you were talking about living in the spotlight.
Okay.
And how hard it would be to live in the spotlight. And yeah, I like my privacy and I wouldn't want people knocking on my door all the time. But at the same time, like if you have that much attention, usually you also have a lot of money too. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of privilege as that comes with that as well. So I don't know. I tend to resist the great man theory, and this a great artist theory, which is the theory that artists are great and they should be worshipped, which we do a lot in America.
We worship anybody who's famous or who we decide is quote unquote famous.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't think, like, I'm not trying to throw criticism at Taylor Swift. I'm just trying to say that maybe we shouldn't like treat her in that way. I guess like treat her as an artist who's making art rather than like a pop culture music goddess or something. I don't know.
I appreciate what you said. I think that what you said could be said about pretty much any well-known artist. And I want to reiterate that what you're saying is you're talking specifically about the artist, like being, having the challenge of being in the spotlight. You're not talking about it in relation to other pieces in this episode. Okay. Just wanted to reiterate that bit.
Does a famous artist should we pity a famous artist more than we pity other less fortunate people in our society? I guess I don't know.
I hope you weren't hearing me as saying I pity her.
No. That's the wrong word.
Great.
I'm gonna cut everything that I just said. I don't know. I'm breaking down.
Okay, so
falling apart.
So there's a lot of songs on this. So there's a lot of songs in this album that we didn't talk about, and that we're not really going to talk about. If you were going here for a play-by-play about Midnights, you probably haven't heard any other Office episodes we've done. That's not really kind of how we've gone about things. But I do want to say that I appreciate Taylor Swift. I think that it's real. I've really enjoyed being able to kind of listen to her music as she has grown and as her styles have changed. Even if I haven't enjoyed everything, I think in many ways I'm experiencing kind of her growth, just like maybe other generations have experienced that of David Bowie. Or of the Beatles or other Whitney Houston, other artists who have like changed, like have gone through like ups and downs as far as ups and downs in the versions of like they've changed the genres and changed the type of music or how they go about it. This one definitely has more synth than I feel like some of her other pieces. Um, and she's making a move back towards pop, at least in this album. Who knows the trajectory as a whole? But one of the other pieces of this album, as I was bringing up earlier, is that it's a concept album. She took an idea of those sleepless nights and created an album called Midnights. And Hunter, I know you are currently working on an album. In fact, one of the songs on that album has already been played on this podcast. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, if you're still listening, after I dug myself an 8-foot hole, thank you.
It's a labyrinth here.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have just been writing music for a long time, and I've noticed that I was writing a lot of songs from lines of literature that I was enjoying.
I'm sure that comes as a surprise to all of our listeners.
Yeah, and so the song that we use as kind of the theme song for this podcast is "Follow Me, Sancho," which is based on Don Quixote. And I've written a song called Plate My Enemy based on a line from Shakespeare, which is, plate a sinner in gold, and the strong lance of justice breaks. But arm him in rags, and even the pygmy's straw will pierce him. And wrote a song off of that, and another one off of Count of Monte Cristo, Misfortune. And so I decided, if I ever get around to, I don't know, getting in a studio or, figuring out how to mix with acceptable sound quality, that I would name my album Lit Songs, because based on literature.
It's getting lit.
Yeah. I think they're pretty lit songs.
I mean, most of them have been sung around campfires, so what's more lit than that?
True. Yeah. So, well, Taylor Swift is holding a lighter on the cover.
You're right.
Midnights.
The YouTube version of it has the flame keeps flickering as you're listening to it. It's kind of cool.
Nice. I did want to say I liked You're on Your Own, Kid. I liked that one. Maybe balance out make my hole a little less deep.
Thanks for sharing about your kind of concept album coming up.
Yeah.
And thanks for doing an episode we've done kind of 2 episodes now. Our last 2 have both been in response to things that have just happened, which I know is not it's not the typical feel of this podcast. I don't think most of our episodes won't be that type of thing. Even if they are somewhat related to what's happening in the world, they're not chosen, because they're the main topic. And I don't know how many more of these types of episodes we'll do. But thanks for stepping outside of your comfort zone and talking about something that I've enjoyed. And I don't think anybody could put forth a compelling thesis that Taylor Swift is not one of the primary storytellers who's impacted our country in the last 15 years. There's no way. Even if you're not listening to Taylor Swift, that doesn't mean that Taylor Swift's not impacting the culture around us. And that also doesn't mean that, you have to like Taylor Swift. But I appreciate your space, Hunter, of saying, hey, your approach to Taylor Swift is very different from that to Ernest Cline, right? What you said about Ernest Cline was, you don't waste any more of my time. I won't waste any more of your time. You didn't say that about Taylor Swift. And I think that says something, about.
Yeah. I'm not pouring one out. I'm just drinking what it puts in my glass.
Yeah. I mean, because even if this was the worst Taylor Swift album yet, I still don't think it'd be that bad because I think her art's pretty good, and I appreciate her storytelling, and I, in many ways, appreciate stories that aren't being told to me, and I don't think her stories are primarily being told to me or to you. I think they're maybe being told to other people. And they're lifting up different stories that we don't even know or have never heard because nobody has shared them with us, which is a cool thing that we can interact with. But if we keep going, then I'm just going to say you're on your own, kid. And while I'm maybe the mastermind behind this particular episode, I hope you don't maroon me in any future ones. Any question?
I've got a whole lot of sweet nothing.
Perfect. Well, I hope that this album has this conversation has been interesting to you out there. And while it might be out of left field, it's not as crazy as Snow on the Beach. Hunter just gave me a "I am not worthy." That's what I saw you just do. You just laugh.
When it comes to puns, I just tapping out.
Dear reader, goodbye.